I'm William Shatner. I've done a lot of things in my career, but this takes the cake. This is so cool. You, Joseph, today, it's all about you. You won the internet. Congratulations. It's exciting. It makes me want to celebrate. Makes me want to get up out of this chair. Makes me want to sing. Makes me want to dance. Makes me want to shout. Kick my heels up. Throw my hands up. Toss my head back. No, really, people should be shouting your name in the street.
Come on now. Sing
that song.
Joseph,
Sing it out loud.
Joseph.
I want to celebrate. Put it up in lights.
The internet belongs to you.
See, no one else deserves to be celebrated like you because you are the best.
Hello, how y'all doing? Hi, Joseph. I hear that you have a show, not famous, and wish you good luck with your show, and I thank you what you're doing for your audience and your people that you're trying to make impression on their life. So good luck with your show, and thank you for all you do. Bye, Joseph.
A spring in your step. There is a twinkle in your eye.
I can throw a rhyme down for you real quick. Yes, they call me Thrill. They say that I'm the man. You disagree? How could you? Let me make you understand.
Should we bring her on the show? Can anybody find me? And there she is.
Fresh as some bread. Pull right up from the oven. When you feel rejected, you get some of my loving.
Take on me.
She looks wonderful. Mom looks amazing.
Somebody to. Okay, Mom, bugger off now. I've got a show to do.
You like that?
Joseph JAFFE, ladies and gentlemen.
You just made the new intro of the show. You know, there was something that I wanted to say, but I completely forgot what it was, but it seemed relevant at the time. Do you know how many times you have that in your life when you're say, I had something really important to say, but of course, if it was so important, you would have just said it, and maybe it will come back to me, but certainly one person who is not going to fade into oblivion, as Mike Tyson would have said, is my guest today, the very famous Benny Salas. I have to tell you that I met him, even though we didn't actually meet IRL, on Clubhouse. And, you know, your voice really is your footprint, your thumbprint, the window to your soul. It's the ultimate LinkedIn profile. And I just heard him, you know, room in, room out. And certainly this man is the real deal. The only failing is that it's taken me so long to get him on the show. And in fact, we had a little bit of a funny exchange. I said, shame on me for, it was meant to say not following you sooner, or for not following you, but it came across autocorrect as shame on me for now following you. And he was like, you know, LOL, WTF, and other abbreviations. Which will not be repeated because this is a family show. Actually, it's not a family show at all. You can say what you want, do what you want, as long as you are your authentic self. That's what's important. Let's see who is here. Bez, the famous Bez is here. Your intros crack me up. I love them, you know, and they never get old. And obviously seeing Andy Enriquez, because without him, Benny wouldn't be here today. But let's get on with the show. What do we have in store for you? Well, a bunch of very interesting updates regarding my project, the Alpha Collective. And I will tell you, as the little piano fades out, I will tell you that I'm excited to share with you a bunch of updates, starting with limited to, or not including, but not limited to, the fact that we will be doing a free mint this week. When will we be doing the free mint? Well, if I told you right now, that would be telling you everything. I will tell you that if you sign up for email at alphacollective.xyz, if you follow Alpha's Gonna Make It, Alpha GMI on Twitter, or join the Discord at discord.gg/Alpha Collective, you will know when we go live for the free mint. And it's exciting for me because essentially it's a bunch of things that I don't believe have ever happened before in this interesting, expanding Web3 space. The one thing, for example, is most free mints have zero utility. This one is chock full of utility. 52 Alpha Talk speakers will be delivering 52 Alpha Talks over 52 consecutive weeks with a total speaker fee of around $1 million. That's Dr. Evil territory. $1 million. And you get it for free. For free. There's no catch. There's no bait and switch. There's no hook and hold other than being able to expand the access to a broader group of people. So if you're interested in joining the Alpha Collective, you can do that for free and, watch the space. I, of course, will be updating you throughout the week on and through my show. Now, what else can I tell you? I can tell you that we have a collective cafe. This has become one of the highlights of my day. Maybe I would say the second highlight of my day, because the highlight of my day is clearly having Benny on the show. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Why do I even need to say that? It's kind of like it's redundant. But every single morning, Monday through Friday, every weekday morning from 8 to 9 a.m., we get together and we're growing slowly but surely. We're the little engine that could. We have regulars already. In fact, it's addictive. Don't take my word for it. Come and hang out with us in the Collective Cafe. We talk about thought leadership. We talk about manifestations. We talk about hell. We might even talk about what we're about to talk about. We're going to talk about what we talked about when we talked about it before we talked about it. After we'll talk about it, and then we'll talk about it some more. Here's what I meant to say is that what Benny and I talk about today, we may then carry it over tomorrow in the Collective Cafe, because there will be words and pearls of wisdom and they're going to come at you thick and fast. But we're doing something else that's kind of cool. In addition to the thought leadership, let me just show you what that looks like. For example, I ran a room in Clubhouse on when good communities go bad. And every week I'm trying to create some more IP. I spoke about Ponzi versus ISNOP, the Ponzi community versus the ISNOP community. Not a Ponzi scheme, but Ponzi meaning top down, ISNOP meaning bottom up, where leadership should lie. But this is an interesting one that talks about when do good communities go bad? What is the difference between a bad community and a good community? And here are some of my thoughts as well. And we keep building over time. Also notice that this is what's called CC0. CC0 meaning, well, it was CC0 until my ugly mug went and overtook it. There's the CC0. What it means is that this IP belongs to anyone who wants it to belong to them, it, they. It means you can use it, you can profit off it, you can mix it, you can remix it. It's part of a new way of thinking about how when you're an ideas person, I can't wait to hear what Benny thinks about this, but when you're an ideas person and you're confident in your ability to continue to come up with ideas, the best thing to do is give it away for free. Just give it away. Let people take it. Let them remix it. Let them work it. Let them, integrate it into their lives, so much so that actually they can make money off it as well. And hopefully they'll give you the attribution. So this was just a little piece of IP that came out of it. And there's one more exciting project, which is Forever Changed, my 6th book, written in 3 weeks, 55,000 words written in 3 weeks. How a global pandemic changed my direction, my purpose, and my life. And the most exciting part about this is if you come into you can still do it. You can join us for coffee and you contribute to this book. The book is planned to be released September 12th, 7 weeks from start to finish. You will actually not only will you as a contributor earn royalties, but actually readers of the book will earn royalties. It might be the first book in the world to actually bring readers, customers into the entire ecosystem. Can you imagine that? Benny, he's sitting pondering in the green room right now. But can you imagine if audience to a speaker were able to earn part of the speaker fee. Like what? Like it's just mind blowing stuff. And I have no idea how to do that. I don't. That might be a terrible idea, but this is how I think you start to think when you think, and when you think and you expand your thought, and you do it in the Collective Cafe. This, by the way, is the cover for the book. Designed by Ali Sabet, who was inspired. It is me, actually. It may not look like me at the moment, but it is me. There's a beautiful video. And as I said, you're very welcome to join us in the Collective Cafe. But now it is time for our seated soliloquy. By the way, Bez says, you have a TWA picture behind you. What's up? It went out of business in 2001. Now he tells me, this is my rental. Due to the flood, I've moved, my family has moved into a couple of rentals. And actually, this house belongs to an amazing guy. Shout out to Justin, who is a pilot for United Airlines. And that, my friends, is the connection to TWA. And Mr. Brian Piper is here, who will be on the show, who has just released a book himself with Joe Pulizzi. Congratulations to him. He said, that's a lot of thinking. I feel like I might have to burst into, a song, if I only had a brain, I could while away the hours conferring with the flowers, consulting with the rain. I started that too low. Let's get into our seated soliloquy. And our seated soliloquy today is called Talk More. I'm sure at the moment, most of you are looking at me and thinking he should talk less. Or maybe I will, because Benny will be on the show. Now, I wanted to talk about an idea that, this is something that Benny has been actually working on for over 10 years. This is not a flash in the pan. This is not a fad. This is what he's thinking about right now. This idea of if you have something to say, say something. These are profound words, and you're gonna, I promise you, internalize them and take them with you, and it's just gonna make you more motivated. But through this pandemic, actually, as I even write in the book, Forever Changed, the signs were in front of us. There were masks on our faces saying to us, talk less. We were given one mouth and two ears. We should use that in direct proportion. We should be more empathetic. We should be active listeners. And that is all true. But at the same time, if you've got something to say, say something. And so talk more is not at odds with the idea of talk less. It is actually knowing when to talk less and when to talk more, and actually making sure that people whose voices were never heard have an opportunity to be heard for the first time. People that have, we talk about gender equality, we talk about people of color, we talk about people who traditionally were not given a voice. That falls squarely into the idea of talk more. Don't talk the most, don't talk the loudest, but talk. And when you talk, people will listen, and people will learn, and people will love when your voice is authentic, when your voice is relevant, when your voice is resonant. And how do you know when it's your time to talk? How do you know when it's your time to talk up? Well, that's an easy segue. You hire Benny Salas. No brainer. Let me tell you a little bit about our very special guest today. Benny Salas is the founder and CEO of That Coaching Guy, Inc., a professional coaching, training, and development company for leaders, executives, business owners, and their teams. Benny's purpose is to empower high-performing leaders, executives, and business professionals to build and grow their mission, message, and mindset in life and business. As a speaker of over 26 years, Benny has reached over 50,000 people through ministry, public speaking, social media, and video content. As a certified professional coach with the International Coaching Federation, Benny has been mastering the art of coaching for the past 11 years and has delivered over 10,000 hours. That's your 10,000 steps, your 10,000 hours of coaching and training. In addition, Benny coaches on an international platform that serves executive clients in the areas of professional and personal development. Are you not impressed? I am impressed. Let's welcome him on the show. Benny, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This was, wow, That was an experience. I love it. Thank you so much, Joseph, for wow, not only the introduction, but most importantly, man, I loved everything about it. I'm taking notes, man. I need to get my notepad and just you're a master at this. I love it.
No, no, no. Listen, you are the master. You just inspire me. And by the way, I almost in my excitement forgot that we give away some JAFFE coin for people that tune in every day. Benny, what's so cool about the QR code, which is there, is that the code is only live while the show is live. So what I'm really leaning into is this idea of the I mean, it's the same thing even when we think about Clubhouse, right? Which is the replays are great when there's nothing live to listen to, but nothing beats live. So live is live is is to live, right?
It's a lot.
So anyway, but thank you for your kind words. But let me tell you, there's a lot we need to talk about, and you may not be complimenting you when I take you into a section that we call fun facts, where we explore the deep, dark corridors and tunnels and funnels of Benny. And we sent our reporters, our investigators into the field. And we found out, the first thing we found out is that you majored in performing arts. So, I mean, this all makes sense to me. Oh, we're talking interpretive dance, tap, singing, mime, improv.
Oh man, so it was interesting. I grew up in the inner city of Chicago, and one of the things that they did to keep kids off streets were to get them into Spanish dance. And so there was a company that was called the Ensemble Español, and they would go into the inner city of Chicago and work with students. And it was so powerful because at that time, it was like a saving grace for us. So me and my brother and all our friends, we just did it because we were 12, 13. We're like, man, there's so many cute girls in that dance company. And so we decided, you know what? It must be for us to join. And we joined. And I'll tell you, that was a life-changing experience. And so that led me to be in a professional dance company at age 12, which also led me into the high school that I went to, which was a performing arts high school. And so I majored not only in dance, I majored in Spanish dance, hip hop, modern, jazz. I didn't do ballet. I didn't have the feet for that. And not only that, but I don't have the frame for it. I'm too much of I was kind of like mixed between like performing arts and a jock, right? Like I love basketball, and then I used to love dancing as well. So for me, it was the performing arts. And I'm gonna tell you, it's a big part in speaking because very early on, I got comfortable with the stage. I got comfortable with the spotlight, and I think that played great dividends into my speaking career.
First of all, I'm trying not to picture you in a pink tutu, but it's just an image that's popped. You should be grateful that I can't do any bad Photoshop right now, but I will in the future.
I'm sure you're going to post it.
You better believe it. This idea of being comfortable on the stage. How else might someone get comfortable on the stage before they're actually on the stage and recognizing that they might have stage fright? What are some of the other things that they can do to like really get comfortable in that kind of pedestal moment, if you will?
Yeah, I think it starts very early on. I think it's interesting. My wife was telling me recently. She said, our son he kind of slipped up. He said, yeah, my teacher moved me for talking too much. And we were like, oh, really? We didn't know that you were talking that much that your teacher had to move you. And so one of the things that we were thinking about in terms of like what our son needed to do is he's got a great gift as a communicator. He is a speaker. He is a communicator. He's someone who loves to amplify his voice. And so one of the things that I think is so important, like for our son, right, is that early on we could see his potential to speak. And you have to nurture that in children, right? For many people, I think one of the reasons why they're not nurtured very early on is that somebody told them to shut up. Someone told them stop talking. You talk too much, right? In actuality, I see that as a gift that my son actually has, right? That's an ability, that's a gift. And so I think early on is being able to be nurtured around your gifts and your talents. Listen, if you're a great communicator and a great speaker, people can see that. Now, you may need some formal training, some education, some more experience. But I believe you can see evidence of that very early on in someone's life. And so there's a different level of confidence, because confidence is not something that you just buy. Confidence is something you build. And so if I've been building over the years, right? If I've taken each experience and each opportunity to grow with, then guess what? I'm going to find my comfort level. And like, again, I don't think we ever, and there's a saying that I have that I think you'll appreciate, that people don't fear public speaking. They just fear the public speaking, right? Our greatest fear is not public speaking. Our greatest fear is that the public is going to talk, or they're not going to say anything. They're either going to be really silent or they're going to be really critical, right? And so what I find to be helpful is that when you start to find your message, and you start to find, and again, we don't always find our message right away, but I think when you find something that you talk about that is connected to who you are, it's easier to get on stage in front of people. And I'm not saying it's easy, it's easier to do those things, to manage your nerves, to overcome your anxieties, because along with that, it's not as easy as just jumping up on stage. Like, I got a big speaking engagement in 2 days here in South Florida. It's probably one of my biggest ones. I'm literally going to be in front of celebrities and high net worth individuals. It's a different conversation for me than this, right? I mean, to be honest with you, this is probably the highest form of stage I've been on, is your platform. This to me is the most valuable and richest that I've been on.
Oh, I love that. What an amazing amazing compliment. I am learning how to say thank you and how to take a compliment, and I'm getting all clunky about it now. But if you would like to see Benny speaking at Mar-a-Lago coming up, I'm just kidding. You said,
there's some heavy security right now. I don't think I'll be
no
speaking
way.
your attention.
No, my bad. You said high net worth individuals, so my bad. No. Listen, we
said high crime individuals. Sorry, wrong one.
Oh, nice. Exactly. Listen, we'll be here all week. I guess one of those skills, one of those performing arts skills, is improv. And Benny, I've had so many people on the show. I mean, you're almost guest number 400, and it's amazing to me to see how many people have integrated improv into their keynote speaking and their public speaking, and have recognized, the power of bringing in, I would call it an ancillary or a tangential, skill set. It's not, it's not standing at the lectern, reading the notes, flipping through PowerPoint, but the ability to bring art, to what is essentially a science, I think is a magic combination.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think I've been a speaker for, like, as you read, 26 years, right? When I started out doing this, I probably sucked really bad. Like, I came across an OCD. Wait, that sounds bad. Not OCD, but an old CD, an actual CD, right, of me speaking. And I was like, I looked at the title of that message and I was like, man, I probably said some really goofy things in this thing. But what's so interesting is that we are always improvising. I love storytelling. I think storytelling is one of the most powerful ways to really, really walk people through a journey. I love being able to have one thing that I use a lot of one-liners, right? So things like, people don't fear public speaking. They fear the public speaking, right? If you have something to say something. I'm always leaving these things for these placeholders on thoughts, ideas, and concepts that help me improvise. Because here's the thing, when you're speaking and you're in front of an audience, it's really just you in that. It really has to feel like it's just you in that audience. It really has to feel like you're drawing them in. And again, as a speaker, you're reading the room, you're creating an environment, you're storytelling, you're walking them through this whole experience, right? Because at the end, there's something that you want them to walk away with. And so when I speak, I improvise. When I speak, I like to say this because I think it makes sense. Some people may agree, may not agree. It's okay. That when you inspire somebody, they want to be like you. But when you empower somebody, they want to be more like themselves. And so when I speak, I want to empower people. I don't want people just to be inspired by what they heard. I want them to be empowered to do something greater in their life. And so that's how I show up. I show up with some humor. I show up. Sometimes I like to wear a hat. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I drop my Air Jordans. Sometimes I'll get some, whatever it looks like, depending on my audience. my message is always the same: is how do you speak with confidence? How do you step into your calling and your purpose? And how do you understand your mission, message, and mindset so that you can influence the world around you?
I mean, I love that, and I love the fact that you just delivered another fantastic one-liner there, regarding empowerment. So now I've decided I'm gonna bring in the rim shot. We're gonna call it the Benny shot,
Any isms.
the Bennyism. So
I was told to write a book on this. Do you know that? By multiple people.
yeah.
I don't know if I should, but
You should. Well, also, or maybe your book's going to be called the OCD OG Old CD. So, I mean, so again, they're going to keep on coming until people just, unsubscribe. Please do not unsubscribe, because here's the thing: if you did unsubscribe, then you wouldn't hear about and you wouldn't know about one of Benny's other incredible superpowers, and that is he is a former, I would say, pastor, but there's nothing past about him. He's a former pastor, and I mean, Benny, again, this concept of bringing the evangelism, bringing the passion, bringing the fire, bringing that the art, the performance to a speech. It's got to have clearly made a difference in your life and been part of your differentiation, part of your unique value proposition.
yeah, absolutely. And I attribute much of my training being in ministry, being a young guy who was looking for community, looking for direction, looking for a sense of purpose, right? And so as I began to speak, I became a youth pastor very early. I was 21 years old. That brought me out here to South Florida to do full-time vocational ministry work. And I've done other things as well, but it was this opportunity to share with folks, rather if it was from the Bible or whether it was a principle about life, something that I know would inspire people, that would actually challenge them to think of something greater. And so for me, there's actually a picture on Instagram. I probably should have shared it with you, of me at 19 years old. And you can probably find it on Instagram. I probably should text it to you. I'm sure you'll probably pull it up real quick. But there's a picture of me speaking at the age of 19 in New York. And I remember that day. I'll say that's the day I picked up the mic and never put it down. That was the day where I realized there was something there. And I didn't know what it was. And again, we all have that thing that we can identify very early on. And you cultivate that gift over so many years. And either you build on it, or like most people, what they end up doing is they end up putting it away. And they're like, I'm done with that. That was for a season. But I always knew speaking, communicating. And then when I brought coaching into the mix, I realized it's time for me to build the business. It's time for me to actually take this to market and start helping folks. And so it had been many years before I had even done that. I had always was comfortable working for other folks until I realized, you know what? Nobody can give me what I can give myself. It's time for me to go in business for myself. And that's when I started that coaching guy.
Wow, that's that was 2 rim shots worth. And I have, let's find it. Where is 19-year-old Benny?
Okay, right there. Go right there. You passed it. Go right there. Scroll up to the right. Scroll up one more.
Yeah.
Right there.
This is
19. Yeah, that's it.
Did you notice that you have 19 comments as well?
I kind of 19 comments, 944 likes, and 18.4 thousand views. Right. And so this is me just kind of giving my history. That was me speaking on stage. That was that talk that you saw me do with a big circle around the back. That was me. I did a talk called Shame on Me. It was one of the hardest talks I've ever given. And I talked about the shame we deal with as men. Man, that was hard. That was hard. It was in front of an audience. It was called a mic drop. And I felt like, you know what? Oftentimes we talk about, well, if you only knew my story, well, guess what? I'm gonna let you know my story. And so I just put it out there, man. And it's on YouTube. Don't tell my mom and my dad, okay? Because it's it's a hard one. It's a hard story.
So there's so many interesting builds on that, Benny. The first one is, and really I think it gets into the meat of the conversation, right? Which is we hear about the concept of sharing and oversharing and trauma dumping and people being able to figure out, and that's why I keep talking about art. When is too much? When is too little? When is vulnerable? When are you being too vulnerable? When are you not being vulnerable enough? How do you find the balance? And I actually wanted to set up the context of this discussion. I always find a quote, and this is the quote that I found for you, which I think is very appropriate to introduce at this point. Be still when you have nothing to say. When genuine passion moves you, say what you've got to say and say it hot. And this was from D.H. Lawrence. And I just, I just got goosebumps now. Like how pathetic am I? I just got goosebumps even like looking at the quote and reading it.
Oh man, that I think you just summed up my 45 years of life in like 2 sentences. Congratulations.
I mean, it's, I was just summing up your life. It's your life. I just get to sum it up. But I mean, this is the essence. When you speak more, when you speak less, when you talk more, when you talk less. And then there's another part to it, which is when you do have the mic, when you do have the stage, say it hot, come in with guns a-blazing and make the most of that opportunity.
Yeah. I want to go back to something you said, because I think it's important, is how do you share that story, find the balance? And I think when you feel like you own the story, you can be the narrator of it. When you feel like somebody else owns your story, you feel like you're at odds with it. And I think what happened was when I owned my story, I could tell it the way I want to tell it. You want to know why? Because it's my story.
Yeah.
So there are certain audiences. This is why communication, speaking. I don't call myself a public speaker. I'm a professional speaker. I've been doing this, and I do this professionally. I get paid to do this. When you understand how to tell your story, it is so impactful. And so for me, when I tell my story about abuse, right? I went through abuse as a young child. My voice was silenced. My offender told me that if I told my parents, they would be mad at me. So how do I combat that when I'm sitting in a second grade auditorium and I hear a speaker say, if that ever happened to you, I need you to come and speak. I need you to come tell a counselor. So here on one side, I got a message, don't tell your parents, they will be mad at you. And then the other one is saying, I need you to tell me because we need to get you help. And so at that age, that was my first moment of decision. Was I going to speak more? And so I remember going to my teacher and saying, you know what? This is what happened to me. And as a 6-year-old, this happened to me. Can you imagine sitting in that auditorium and all these flashbacks start coming of me being abused by a family friend? It shook me. I was like, is this a dream? And then when I realized it wasn't a dream. And so I shared this with the counselor. I shared this with my parents, and my fears came true. At least so I thought. We never talked about it afterwards. So I always thought my parents were mad at me. I always thought, man, she was right. And so that message carried throughout my life and throughout my adult life in saying, wow, you know what? Guess what? If you don't want people to be mad at you, don't let them know the real you. See, we have this way of taking messages and stories and then turning them into what we think that they should be. And we can tell a story and pin it a whole different way. And so for me, this message of people pleasing began to come in, imposter syndrome began to come in, all these different things that with dealing with mindset. Because for me, I didn't want people to be mad at me. I didn't want, and I associated not pleasing people with being vulnerable. And so it wasn't until I got to the point and realized I'm going to tell my story. And there's so much to that story. Listen, I'll probably send you the link on the back end because literally it sums up how everything happened for me, how even Speak More happened. I was literally sitting in a gathering. It was called Creative Collective. There was all these creative individuals, and people were like, all the musicians go here, all the artists go over here, all the photographers, all the singers, and as the crowd is clearing, and they're going to their places. They mentioned nothing for me, and I'm just sitting there. And I'm like, as a person who has a relationship in my faith journey, I literally say, God, what is my creative gift? If nothing is for me here, what's my creative gift? And this is what I heard. I heard, how did I create? And I said, well, you spoke. And then I felt like this voice said, speak more. And that's how my program got started. That was me sitting in an auditorium trying to figure out my purpose in life. And now I found it. That was back in 2016, after I went through one of the darkest 5 years prior to that, almost losing so many things. And yet it was all meant for me to find myself. And so that was the inception of Speak More. And since then, I realized I had to just do that. I literally had to do the very thing that I struggled with, right? And now, again, I've been a speaker for many years, but there was a period where I just had to be a listener and not a speaker. I had to listen to my heart. I had to listen to the things that were helping me to grow and develop as a man, as an individual, as somebody who had this burden on his back, right? Or this challenge on his back of going through this messaging of abuse and so forth. Now, I said a lot in a little just in this time, and I didn't even tell you the war story. I didn't get into like all this. See, there is a way to tell your story that leads people to a point, that helps people understand the journey. I think oftentimes, and you mentioned it, we like to trauma dump. We like to back the dump truck up, right? And we like to just unload everything on everybody. That's not what this is, right? You got to know how to help people take the next step. Because if I take you down to the basement and I leave you there and close the door, you're going to be in darkness. But for me, there was hope, there was light. And now what I do with my Speak More program is I help people find their message, their why, their story, their messaging, so that they can impact and influence the world around them. And so there's so much in that, but that's how I would answer your question about what happens when you go through trauma. I just shared with you one of the most personal stories of my life. And I still don't feel afraid. I don't feel naked. I don't feel exposed or vulnerable. I feel comfortable because I was in control of that story.
And I'm just going to let that sit as well, which is something very beautiful about you, Benny, because that vulnerability is not gratuitous. It's just honest, and it comes from you saying, I'm a professional speaker. Because often you will see, professional driver, closed course, do not, or, heavy machinery, do not attempt at home. That's why you need to call in a professional. That's when you need to, when you overlay that, and, I've become a fairly adept at connecting dots, but it connects back to the trip to the basement. When you're taking someone on a journey, you better have a roadmap. You better know where you're going, and you better make sure that you don't leave them behind, and that you don't lead them astray. And essentially, a professional speaker will take you on a journey, and it will be a safe journey, even if you're challenging them and even if they're being challenged. But at the end of the day, just like every great arc and every great story, there is a beginning, a middle, and an end. And depending on who the speaker is and what the intent is, the end is a better place, and time well spent. And to me, this has been time well spent with you.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. And I hope for those who, and here's the thing, everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. And the question is that I always ask is, who's telling it? Because our stories have power. Our messages are meant to be. Think about what a message is. Real simple. I mean, AOL taught us the greatest lesson, right? You got you got a little symbol, you got a little envelope, and then you just have this like inbox, right? And the envelope goes from sender to message to recipient. And I think all of us, we have to send messages out, messages of hope, messages of that we solve problems. I mean, again, each one of us, we're given a gift, we're given an ability. And I'm grateful that it took me through a journey to find mine, to discover mine. And to be honest with you, my gift was never lost. It was just misplaced. It's almost like the set of keys that you like. What do you do when you lose a set of keys? You retrace your steps. And I had to go back and retrace what was everything about me. What were my gifts? What were my talents? What was my ability? Because there was a moment that I stopped believing in myself. There was a moment that I let failure become final for me. And it wasn't until I started to realize that I was not going to be happy until or find peace in my heart until I did the thing that I was called to do. And that's where I'm at today. And I'm grateful for it. I'm always learning. I'm 45 and I feel like I'm just getting started. And I love it, man. I love it so much because I'm not done.
No way.
We're just getting this thing rolling and I'm excited, man. And I see my son, and I just need to say this because my son is amazing. We're going to actually start a podcast. We're going to start a podcast or YouTube channel. My son, his name is Nehemiah, and Nehemiah in the Bible means builder, right? He was a builder. And so we're gonna start a channel, and he's going to be Nehemiah the Builder. And our goal is to help build kids' confidence, because we know there are kids out there that don't have confidence, and so we want to be able to help them. We want to be able to serve them, and I just want to leave this an imprint on this world, and make sure that I've done my due diligence in serving people.
I absolutely love it. And there were two things that really kind of leapt out at me when you were talking. The first is you've been very aware and awake that moments that have happened to you have happened for you, but those moments, those pivot moments, you've identified them. So many people have had those moments and they didn't see them for what they were or what they could be, and they've missed. And so that's the second point that you said so eloquently, which is this idea of going back, revisiting and remembering what we once had and were and forgot. And I tell you, I remember the story. I put it into the book, into Built to Suck, into my 5th book, where it was a story about Denny's, and the chief marketing officer told the story of how they were trying to figure out their purpose and their mission, and they hired a big, expensive Madison Avenue branding agency to help them discover their purpose. And at that moment, the chief marketing officer found like a musty, dusty frame from the founder from way back from that actually said, our mission is to feed every person on this planet, and they canceled the review, and they realized it was always there. As JC Penney would say, it's all inside. It was always inside. All they had to do, I said, you don't need to discover. Nobody has to discover their purpose. For the most part, they had it. They just forgot it. Go back and look back, and that's how you connect back and project forward.
That's so good. And you brought back JC Penney. That's a blast from the past. I like that.
Yeah, what's their mission? maybe they should be hiring that coaching guy. I'm just saying. I just connect dots here.
The song that came to mind was "Staying Alive" by the Bee Gees. Like they've been trying to
don't make me sing in falsetto. By the way, Lubna is here. Lubna is not just a past guest. Lubna is not just a friend. Lubna is not just a regular on the show. I will, for example, she said confidence is a skill, not a feeling. She's saying you should, Benny, write that book of Bennyisms. I think it was Bennyisms. And she said, what a great project building confidence in kids. But, Lubna is our resident flow expert. Today is Flow Tuesday. So she sends in a vignette. And today I don't watch them in advance, so I can watch them like you are watching them, like Benny's watching them for the first time. This is called 4 energy types. And I'm just going to go on a limb here and say Benny has the good energy, the highest energy, but I don't even know what it is. Let's watch.
The more and better you know yourself and you become super self-aware, the more you can leverage your strengths and talents. And that is important when you want to tap into your personal flow each and every single day. And to help you today on this Flow Tuesday, I'm going to share with you 4 different types. And each and every single one of you has all of these 4 types in you. there's one that has your preference, one that will show up no matter what. And the very first one is dynamo. And people who have dynamo as their natural path or natural strategy to personal flow love to create. So for all of you creators, you are very likely to be a dynamo energy type. The second one is blaze. And if you have blaze as your natural path, you love to connect with people. You love to have conversations. You love to network. Now, if you love to serve, help in the form of a team or a project, and you want to be surrounded by people, then you're very highly likely to be a tempo energy type. And the last type is steel. And these are the people who love details. They love to dive into the details. They notice the details. So which one of these four is your energy type? Because when you know, you can experience flow more of the time. Till we meet again.
Can there be a fifth type, a Benny energy? Benny, you're full of energy. People say sometimes I'm full of something else, but but I love the idea of the different types of energy, and even recognizing serving as an energy.
I think that would be my energy. Honestly, it would be serving. I think when the more we can empty ourselves out, the more we can be filled with things that are life changing. And I think I've spent enough time being selfish in this world. Um, I think it's okay to serve other people, and that doesn't mean. I think that, and again, I think this is where my church experience really comes into play, right? Serving people doesn't mean you have to be broke. It doesn't mean you have to be less than. It just means that you lead with other people in mind, and I believe that's the golden rule, right? I believe that's just good character. And so, when we put others before us, and you keep that in mind, I think that's transformational. So I'll take the fifth energy. It's a new one. It's
The Benny, the Benny. No, the fifth energy is all of the above. But Lubna said as well that serving is hers as well. And Bez says kids are the now and future. Thanks for investing in them, Benny.
Well, you ready for this too? I just came back from a crypto conference here in South Florida, and I saw a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old develop a crypto NFT, and they're sharing their message of positivity all over the world. This kid has interviewed Richard Branson. And you know
Wow.
what sparked in my mind? I said, me and my son, we need to create an NFT where we can help kids in the metaverse and families in the metaverse connect with their kids. So I don't know where this is going to take me. All I know is I'm trying my best to be a messenger and deliver the right messages to the world. And I don't always know what that looks like. I don't always know what it feels like. I take one step at a time, but I'm taking my kids and my family on the journey.
I think that's exceptional. And, I've had the privilege of interviewing 14 and 15-year-olds who've put out sold out collections. And Vale and Dave, who put out the Girlies NFT. What's so amazing about the story is that, we're all going down a path where our kids are essentially, distancing themselves from us. So much so that we are aging out. We're aging out of connection, if you think about that. How insane is that? Oh, Dad, stay away from TikTok. Oh, don't do this. And it's like what NFTs are actually doing, especially from a collaborative standpoint, is bringing a father and his daughter together. How a father and a son, a mother and her daughter, how beautiful is that? That somehow this Web3 world is actually bringing together people, generations of people, when we have, witnessed 2.5 years of being torn apart.
It makes sense, right? Because we have two different realities, but one thing that brings us together is a virtual reality, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited about, like we have a call scheduled with this young guy, and I think his name is Christopher something. His name's Christopher something, and I met him and I was so impressed by what he's doing and what he's like influencing the world around, that I just look forward to even reaching out to him. Hopefully I can find where he's at. But anyhow, here it is. Christopher Leeson. Christopher, yeah. He's on Instagram, and this young guy, I was so impressed with him. And I said, man, I wanna position. Here's the thing. I want to position my kids for success. Not so they can get to 18 and do, no, I want to do it now. I want to position them for success now.
It's so great. And by the way, tell, when you connect with Christopher, if he'd like to come on the show, I would love to
Oh my
interview him.
gosh, I will connect you guys on social media in a heartbeat.
That'd
And
be
what a
amazing.
great experience I've had here.
I love, I love it because what I've witnessed in every single case is you're witnessing someone who is, as they say, ahead of their years, not ahead of their time, but ahead of their years. And then I realize almost, are they ahead of their years, or are we sometimes behind our years? Are we lagging? Are we lagging as older people, or are they just leaping ahead and taking the opportunity? And then, of course, if you just flip it on its head, you're like, wait a second, age is just a number one, but potential and opportunity, like confidence, that is a choice. That is a choice, and that is absolutely in our control.
I look at that and I say, man, he hasn't lived life long enough to know all the things that people do and say. And sometimes that's the best thing. Sometimes it's just good to not know what other things are about, because sometimes that level of I don't know if I would call it, maybe it's not ignorance, because ignorance it's not a bad word. We use it in a bad way, but ignorance just means not knowing, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a level of ignorance that he doesn't know certain things, but what would it look like for us to not know certain things that have happened to us, or what other people say, or what other people think? You and I would probably take more risk. We would try more things. We would, there's so many things we could do. And so, I almost feel like I need to reclaim my child. Like I'm on the journey of like reclaiming my childhood, reclaiming the performer in me, reclaiming what it felt like, what it would like. It doesn't mean that I'm immature. It just means that I understand who I've always grown up to be, right? And so I love to see that in children and young men like this, where that inspires me. Like I told my son, I said, listen, because my son loves to draw and he loves to speak. And I'm like, I think I found it. I think I told him after I came back to this crypto conference, I said, I think I found it. And so I scheduled the call, and we got a call this weekend with this young man who's been traveling the world, talking about his NFT project.
It's, I don't know what the right word is, but there's a qualifier for it, which is, I kind of thought about empathetic ignorance, but it's because I wanted to say like it's maybe mindful ignorance or purposeful ignorance.
Mm.
It's not deliberate, because there's
Intentional
almost like
ignorance, right? Almost like intentional ignorance, something like that.
intentional that but the idea is that can be a bad thing too, intentionally ignorant. I remember even going back, and regardless of someone's politics, George W. Bush was certainly a controversial and somewhat of a maligned leader, in particular, being the leader through 9/11 and into the invasion of Iraq. But one thing about him is he never read the newspapers. He cut himself off from what people were saying, the public speaking, to your point.
Yeah.
And one might look at that critically, but the other one might have been, as a leader, his job was to lead. Like speakers speak, as Les Brown would say. Well, leaders lead. And when you are completely debilitated by everything around you, whether that is, that is deliberate ignorance too. But I love, look out for Benny's new book, which is called Intentional Ignorance, wherever books are sold. Now that is a good book. Or
So
at least it's a tweet.
I like the title. Hold on as I go and send that to my VA for her to get the domain name. And so
Too late. I bought it already. No, I'm kidding.
Dang it.
I bought .eth. No, I'm kidding. It's yours.
So there is an ebook that I just finished. It's called it's an ebook. It's called 3 Core Essentials to Speaking with Confidence, right? And so we just are going to launch that in the upcoming weeks. We just got the script back, and I'm excited about it because it's not like your normal ebook that's full of dead space and like just like pictures and like you should do this and like one question. No, it's an actual book that I put together because I was going through this. I'm a big framework person. I'm a very strategic in the way that I do things. And so I like things done a certain way. So I was like, man, what are the 3 core essentials that somebody needs to become a confident speaker? That is leading me to my actual book that I'm writing. And I didn't tell you this because we're waiting for the trademark, but we have submitted it. It's called When Confidence Speaks. When Confidence Speaks.
I love that.
So it's not speak with confidence. It's when confidence speak. What does it look like when you're stepping into yourself, your voice? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? What's the energy flow like? What does it mean to overcome these things? And so we're when confidence speaks, that's going to be my book that we're going to do in 2023. We've already got the publisher. We've already gotten things in place, and it's a keynote. It's going to be the thing that's going to lead me down a TEDx stage. It's this understanding that confidence is just not something you buy. It's something you build, and you build with every experience, with every failure, win, loss, up, down, everything. All of those are building blocks towards building confidence.
Lumna loves the title, and so do I. And also, confidence. Something can speak and communicate without even using words,
100%.
without even being loud. It can just be pure. It can be clear. It can be compelling. It can be connecting. So that's amazing. I cannot wait to read it and see the keynote and experience the keynote. Benny, let's go back to the original Bennyism, which is if you have something to say, say something.
Yeah.
I connect with this so strongly because, what we're actually doing in Forever Change, and you're welcome to join us as well. We still have a few spots, is every chapter will end with someone else's Forever Change story. But what we're being clear about is you don't even have to have changed in this time. You might not have changed. You might have resisted change. You might be changing. You might be afraid to change. But everyone has a story. Everyone has something to say. And so this connects so strongly with me because, you know what, instead of going out and saying, let's find someone with the best story, the worst story, the story with the most trauma, the story that's the most uplifting, it's like, no, that's not reality. Reality is you and me and everyone else watching the show, reading the book. And what I say in the book is I say, this is my story of how a global pandemic changed my life. And my story is your story, but your story is actually your story. And your story is as compelling, if not more compelling than my story, because it's your story. So this really connects with my core.
Yeah. I as you were talking, this imagery of a blank canvas came to my mind. And, if you put a paintbrush in my hand, you're probably going to get a mess. But if you put a paintbrush in the hand of somebody who understands the why behind the what, you get artistry, you get creativity. And I think when we understand that your story is in your hands, what could you create with that? What could you paint on a blank canvas? What would that look like? And I think so many of us have forgotten our like metaphoric paintbrushes. And we've forgotten that there's power in our message, there's power in our story. And maybe what we've done is we've said, you know what, I can't paint like that person. Like the most powerful thing in storytelling is not just the story, it's the storyteller. It's the person who can actually say what they mean and mean what they say. It's the person who owns it. It's the person who narrates it, right? That to me is what's transformational. And I just think you're right. If we step into that story, if we step into that message, if we communicate that, what kind of change and transformation could happen in the world? I can't reach the whole world, but I can reach one person at a time, one place at a time, one message at a time. And the more that I share this message, the more that I own it, the more clear it becomes on why I have to share it. It didn't feel like that in the beginning. I just felt like I was trying to build the business, but now it's bigger than that. I'm trying to influence the world. And so we all have this in us. But we have to believe it and we have to see it.
You are not on your way. You are leading the way, and we are humbled to be on the path with you, Benny, as you lead. I have to say, I was thinking, the reality, if reality TV producers are watching this episode, you can learn a lot from this conversation. In particular, when you look at the cost of Survivor or The Bachelor or one of those shows, each person's story sounds more traumatic and more tragic than the next, to almost outdo themselves. When in actual fact, why aren't we just tapping into the normalcy and the day to day and the everyday? And maybe what would connect us is better is with someone who actually is. One of the greatest quotes I got from one of my guests was, vanilla. It's the most popular flavor, but you would never drive across town for it. And maybe that's the real story that should be in reality TV, is all the vanilla, all the mediocrity in our lives, how we try and fit in, how we try and conform, how we try and be like everyone else, but no one will travel across town for us.
It's so good.
So I'm on a tear because I'm just, you and I, this is a private room, so to speak. Who needs the big public rooms on Twitter and Clubhouse when you have, speaking of which, if you do want to follow this man, because let me tell you, you're still doing the rooms on Friday with Andy and
we'll do rooms on Tuesday and Wednesday as well. I've been doing some rooms there as well on the Cash In On Your Story, offering some other types of rooms. And so, yeah, but primarily on Friday, it's a phenomenal room on Clubhouse.
I listen, I learn, and I love, in that order. If you want to connect with the coaching guy, you will find him at That Coaching Guy on Instagram, on the Twitter, in the club. You can discourse with him in Discord. You can connect with him on LinkedIn. Look out for his new ebook called 3 Core Essentials to Speaking with Confidence. And for the most part, I'm also going to just make sure that while we have a final moment, if you want to talk about the Speak More Academy, but if you want to figure out how to engage with Benny, you can pretty much find everything that you need on thatcoachingguy.com. So you want to tell us quickly about the academy?
Yeah, so we are launching the Speak More Academy, and what I did was I took my 26 years of public speaking training, and what we did is we put that in a course. We put that in a way for us to not only teach you the 4 core essentials about Speak More. That's where I take my program and I help you to really build your confidence, reach your audience, and grow your influence. And so there's a boot camp attached to that. There's some group coaching calls. And for those that say, I want a deeper level, I want to build and grow, I want to monetize, we offer that also in some one-to-one coaching. And again, we barely even talked about my coaching, right? But a big part of what I do in the marketplace, in both a B2B and B2C market, is I coach a lot of executives and entrepreneurs. I really coach people who want to build and grow their mission, message, and mindset. And so for those that are looking for one coaching, I've been doing this professionally for 12 years, ICF certified, trained, educated, and knowledgeable in the art form of coaching. I didn't become an Instagram coach when the pandemic hit. I've been doing this for a while. So just want to throw that disclaimer out there. But we have been effectively just helping people and really walking them through their journey, their story, and their messaging. And so you can go to thatcoachingguy.com for more information.
I found myself also saying that many times during the first year, which is, by the way, I've been doing this for a while.
Yes.
I didn't just become a ninja this morning. But I will tell you, as we wind down, that one person that I know will be enrolling into the academy is Chuck Norris.
You are Chuck Norris approved.
And we will be back, I think, tomorrow or Wednesday with Mr. Brian Piper. Benny, it's absolute pleasure, and I will no doubt see you soon. I'll be there in the audience cheering and waving up to you. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if the time left over, a little bit of marketing with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show, and if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.